timestamp that's relative to the Unix epoch using a function called Unix timestamp. Doing that, though, kind of changes the column name, so I'll need to alias or rename it back to created at. And that will give me, unlike the web browser, which would return me the time relative to the Unix epoch in the number of milliseconds, what MySQL will do is return you the time in seconds. So there's a small difference there by about a factor of 1,000. I'll remove the date parse on it and just see what this prints out for the first one. So now it gives me a number, which is something that I can work with. I'll need to figure out the current time on the person's web browser, and I can do that by, I'll create another variable called current time, and I'll do a new date and create a new date object and call a method called getTime, which will return me the number of time in milliseconds from the Unix epoch. Now you have to keep in mind that MySQL returns the timestamp, the Unix timestamp in the number of seconds, and the web browser returns it in the number of milliseconds. I'll take the web browser time, divide it by 1,000 to give me the time in seconds. It may be fractional, so I'll remove the fraction by calling math.floor, which is another function, and that essentially rounds the number down. I'll lose some precision, but I'm not really concerned about it. Alternatively, you can call math.ceil, which is short for ceiling, which means to round up, but I'll just call math.floor, and I'll call it current time in seconds. Well, I'll just, so now that I have the current time in seconds, and this is all, and both are relative to January 1st of 1970, I can use this to determine how many seconds ago the comment was left at. It's just a relative to a certain point in time, which happens to be long, long ago. And I'll write another function called time difference description that will just say, you know, you left this comment 30 seconds ago, 30 minutes ago, 30 hours ago, 30 days ago. And I'll accept two arguments. The current time, well, we'll do event time, which is the time they left the comment at, and the current time, both of these are in seconds, which is the time of the person's web browser. So we'll say if we'll need to declare another variable called seconds ago, and we'll set this equal to the current time minus the event time. And we'll say if that difference is less than 60 seconds, we'll set the result to seconds ago, which is the difference in seconds. And it's probably better just to qualify this with something that's easier to understand. I'll declare some constants, which there are no constants in JavaScript, but as a convention, I'll put them in uppercase to make them look like constants. Constants are values that don't change, like seconds in a minute, which are 60 seconds. And I'll substitute this constant in for it. So it's a little easier to understand. And I'll declare a metric of second. And I'll initialize metric to nothing and result of nothing. And this function would return result. And we need to put this together by setting result is equal to result plus, which is it'll join strings together. That's the operator that's used in JavaScript. It's a little different from PHP because PHP uses the dot operator. I'll put in a space and then the metric. So if I left a comment 30 seconds ago, it would be 30 space second, which I would want to make plural. So if the result is greater than 1, I'll add a S to the end of it. Else, I'll just leave it singular. And now I'll write the code for the number of minutes ago, and I'll do if seconds ago is less than 3600, which I could make a constant called seconds in an hour, which there are 60 seconds in a minute and 60 minutes in an hour, so I take 60 times 60, and that would give me 3600. In this situation, I would set the result equal to seconds ago. I need to convert it into minutes, because I'm saying if the difference in time is under an hour, I want to express it in minutes. So I would need to take the number of seconds and divide it by the number of seconds in a minute. Then I'll set the metric to a minute. Then for hours, if it's less than, I'll declare another constant, seconds in a day, which take the 3600. There are 24 hours in a day. I take the 3600 and multiply it by 24, which gives me 86,400. And if the seconds ago is less than the number of seconds in a day, I would express the time in the number of hours. So I take the seconds ago and divide that by the number of seconds in an hour, and I would set the metric to an hour. Otherwise, we'll just express everything in days. So I'll take the seconds ago and divide that by seconds in a day, and set the metric to a day. Now, these may give you fractional answers, and I'll round them down with math.floor. It would look weird to say if I left that comment 1.2 minutes ago. I'd just rather say it 1 minute ago. And now I'll set the elements of index.innerHTML, and I'll run this through the time difference description function, pass it in the time that they left the comment, and the current time. And I'll do this for all the elements, not just the first one. And we'll see how this works. So that gives me it in day 31 days ago. That's 1 day ago, so it's singular. Let me leave just another comment and see if this works. Let's see if this works. Publish. Thank goodness for source control. You can just take that function that just disappeared and add that back in. Refresh. Thanks for the comment. Go back and we'll refresh this page again. And so I left that comment about 5 seconds ago. But we're not done yet, because I have to account for time zones. Because everything looks fine now, because my web browser and the database server, they both reside on the same time zone. But if I were to shift it to halfway across the world, it would no longer say 5 seconds. It would say 12 hours or something less than that. So just to compensate for that, where I do the database query on Unix timestamp, what I'll do is I'll convert this to, actually the Unix timestamp, it returns you a timestamp in something called Universal Coordinated Time, or UTC. And this is right now, it's offset by the amount that the time zone of the database server. So what I'll do is I'll adjust it to have an offset of 0 or no offset at all. And I'll change that to remove the offset by calling a function called convert underscore TZ. TZ stands for time zone. Give it the field name that you want to convert the time zone that the MySQL database server is running in, and I can get that by doing an @ global.time_zone, and I'll convert it to UTC with no offset at all. And you would think it would be 00:00, but this is an offset, so it's expecting a positive or a negative number, and I'll do a plus 00:00. And I'll balance the parentheses. So when I refresh the page now, it's now giving me a negative number because it's no longer in my time zone. It's now at this, it's a time zone with no offset. So what I'll need to do is, since the timestamp of these comments are returned in UTC with no offset, when I get the current time of my web browser, I'll need to adjust it so that it's also has no offset as well, so they'll both be on the same time zone. So and I'm not changing the time of my computer or the web browser. I'm just taking what the current time is when I call this function. And I'll need to adjust it. I'll need to get the time zone. I'll just call it offset. And I'll need to declare a date object and ask it to get the time zone offset, which is I think it's the number of minutes. Yes, the number of minutes that it's offset in universal coordinated time. So I'll need to convert that to the number of seconds by taking that and multiplying it by 60. So I'll take the web browser time that returns to me, and I'll add the TZ offset, which will adjust it back to the origin. When I run this again, it's now says 7 minutes ago, which is better than a negative number. Some video editing took place between when you saw the original time of 5 seconds and 7 minutes. So I took my time zone offset and set it to that I got from the web browser, and it adjusted it so it sets it back to plus 0 UTC. So they're both in the same time zone. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.